Hey everybody, it's Dr. Piken again, and here we're going to be moving on to another really important aspect of burping, belching, reflux, GERD, everything that has to do with the upper digestive tract, and the reasons why you may not be getting better yet, but you will be. It's the emotional aspect of things, or the stress response. So what I want you to understand is if that you have your foods in order and you're taking all the right supplements, and you watch the next video, which is going to talk about all the physical things that can cause upper digestive distress, you may want to pay attention to the emotional aspect. The first thing we have to understand when we're trying to understand how stress affects our digestion is simple parasympathetic sympathetic dominance and how that works in your body. Your sympathetic nervous system, if I really dumb it down and make it really simple, is the part of the nervous system that riles you up. If your eyes are open, if you're excited, if you're getting things done, if you're studying really hard or stressed out at work and pulling your hair out, that's sympathetic. But it could be as little as walking really briskly is sympathetic. And when you're in the sympathetic state, you literally can't heal. You can't digest properly. You can't restore the body. The parasympathetic system. I just like to breathe when I talk about the parasympathetic system because I can be riled up very easily. But when I talk about the parasympathetic system, I'm talking about resting, healing, digesting, your immune system, your sleep. And if we don't get time to digest our foods, if you're one of these people shoveling down your foods because you have some place to go or some things to do and you got too many things to do and you don't have time to digest, you're actually putting yourself at risk for maldigestion. How does it affect my body? I'm going to glance down at my notes. One, it's going to alter the peristaltic motility. So when you swallow food, yes, it's going to fall down your esophagus. Remember the esophagus before it goes into your stomach? Gravity is going to take it down, but it's enhanced by motility of the muscles of the esophagus and the stomach. So if you lose that motility because you're in a sympathetic mode and there's not enough parasympathetic stimulation, that food can sit around and move more slowly. There are parts of the intestines where it's not just going to fall down and it's the contractility of the smooth muscles of the small intestine or the intestines in general that will keep your digestion working smoothly. Stress suppresses that. Next, stress also increases the perception of problems. Here's what I'm talking about. Usually when you're in the midst of stress, when there's a high stress situation, you don't feel anything except what's going on in front of your face at that moment. You're taking care of somebody that's sick and you're just with that person. You don't feel about anything about your neck pain or your back pain or your digestive problems until you sit back and relax and have a breather for yourself. And then you actually can have an increased perception of a problem. So if you're in a high sympathetic dominant state and never parasympathetic, you may cover up your problems. But what happens with those people is typically when they give themselves that time to breathe and rest, that's when their problems settle in and their body communicates and lets them know about them. Stress can actually even change the secretions. We talked about in the last video that you're supposed to secrete hydrochloric acid. You're supposed to create pepsin, which is a digestive enzyme. And if you're not handling stress, you can actually alter the production of these secretions in your gut. It decreases healing and regeneration. So if you have an irritation in your stomach, either because of a medication you've taken that's irritated or a food that you've eaten, too much alcohol, too much coffee, you know the foods that bother you. If you just keep eating them, your stomach and your body is amazing. It should be able to regenerate and heal. But if you're in that stress state, that sympathetic dominant state, it shuts off your ability to heal. So let's talk about the strategies that you can start right now to take care of these. The first is you want to avoid stress. Easy to say, right? If you have somebody that's stressing you out, if you have something that's stressing you out, if a job is stressing you out, well, just leave it and avoid the stress. Isn't it easy to say? Doesn't it feel good just even the thought of getting rid of those stressors? Some stresses in our life. Heck, everybody's going to have some stresses, but even some of us are going to have heavy stresses in our life that are just plain old unavoidable. So what do you do alternatively? Here are the techniques. The number one, absolutely trumps everything else in my mind, exercise. I love the saying, you're only one workout away from a good mood. And I don't care whether you're walking fast, doing yoga, CrossFit, going for a jog, doing 10 push-ups, and then that's all you have time for. You got to do something. You got to move. And if you're moving and not feeling better, you're not moving enough. You're not using your body enough. You're not drumming up the endorphins, which is the good chemicals in your body. And yes, that does add to the stress, because exercise literally is a stress, but it combats stress so well. And as long as you're not in a super high sympathetic dominant state and using a high intensity exercise to combat it, which means your exercise and stress levels are just coming to a peak and maybe causing an injury at some point, if you're using a moderate amount of stress and a high amount of exercise, or a low amount of stress and a high amount of exercise, or a moderate amount of stress with exercise with a high amount of stress, you just have to figure it out. I talk with my hands a lot. Basically, you have to find out the right exercise for you. And when you do, you'll feel better. You're able to handle stress better. And so many of your gut problems will get better because of it. So let's move out of exercise. Maybe you're already exercising. What's the next thing that you want to do is meditate. It's my number 2 besides that, right behind exercise, and right behind meaning really, really close. So I've been meditating for over 15, 16 years. I can't keep track anymore. There are tons of ways to meditate. Headspace apps, or if you're using a transcendental meditation, which I was taught in, trained in, and I've been doing for years, or you're just using a guided meditation on YouTube, there's great stuff out there, or you get a book on meditation, or a friend teaches you how to meditate. The basics of meditation are just simply this. Meditation is an exercise. Remember, it's an exercise. You're not supposed to necessarily be good at it like that. Just somebody teaches you and you're all of a sudden a great meditator. Meditation is an exercise for training your brain to focus on one thing and one thing only. What is that one thing? Whatever you decide. It could be breathing. Just breathe in and breathe out. Anytime you're not focusing on your breathing, if your mind goes to the report due later, or your kids that you have to take to soccer practice later, well, then you wipe that out for a second and you go back to your breathing and you concentrate on that some more. In transcendental meditation, I'm saying a mantra, 2 words that I don't even know the meaning of. They're an old Sanskrit words, and I just repeat them over and over again in my head. It's literally effortless. I don't even have to say them. I just think them over and over again. And whenever my mind wanders off into my office or the next video I have to make, well, I say, no, not right now. It's time to say my words. You can say the words peace. You can say the words love. You can have a positive affirmation that you say. You could, heck, stare at a wall. Stare at one little crack in a wall. You can do a walking meditation where you're staring at a tree and walking to that tree, but keeping your focus on it. There are so many ways to do it. I ask you to look out for it. I go over a lot more in my book. By the way, that's Better. 11 Simple Habits to Improve Your Life. It's available on Amazon if you want it, but let's move on. Journaling is another great technique. Here's my technique for journaling. If you have 20 minutes, a half hour, great. Go write down and write a book every night. Keep your diary. It makes you feel good. It's cathartic. But if you want to squeeze journaling into 1 to 5 minutes, this is what I recommend. And yeah, 5 minutes is better than 1, but 1 minute can do the trick. What happens is I want you to do some free writing. What happens is you open up a composition notebook or a pretty journal, or heck, just get some scraps. Once you put the pen on the paper in the journal, you do not stop the pen from moving. You're constantly moving that pen, writing literally every single thought that pops into your head. Heck, it doesn't even have to be legible. If you don't write, or if you think faster than you can write, just make the scribbles, but let the intention of the words hit the paper. Get these thoughts out of your head and onto paper. If you're of a younger generation or you're really computer savvy, typing is totally fine. You can keep an online journal, but my preference is pen to paper. There's something magical still about that pen to paper, and I do it regularly. So I hope these techniques of stress relief have helped you. I hope you understand that if you're not addressing your stress, you may still be dealing with digestive problems even though you've taken care of your chemistry and you've taken care of the physical. So here's the emotional aspect. Hope all that information helps. Put it to good use, please, and get better.